The planet of Zenthros was a remote world, hidden away in the far reaches of the galaxy. A place where few ventured, but many things went unnoticed. The sprawling cities were teeming with crime, and the outer settlements were known for their danger and lawlessness. For one man, however, it was the perfect place to escape the dangers of the galaxy and work on his own terms. His name was Lieutenant Erik Hayes, a skilled medic and former soldier, who now spent his days patching up those who needed him. He had been to war, seen unimaginable horrors, and left it all behind, choosing instead to heal wounds rather than cause them. One evening, after an exhausting day treating the various injuries brought in by local scavengers and traders, Erik was walking back to his small apartment when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned, expecting to see a late-night wanderer or another resident of the complex. Instead, he was greeted by the sight of a woman, a striking figure with glowing violet eyes, dark green skin, and a lean, muscular frame draped in tactical armor. She was breathing heavily, staggering as if injured, her hand clutching her side. "Please help me," the woman whispered, her voice breathy with pain. "I was attacked. I don't know if I can make it much further." Erik hesitated for a moment. Then, seeing her injuries and the genuine distress in her eyes, he instinctively rushed to her side. It wasn't unusual to encounter injured individuals in this part of the world. Zenthros was a dangerous place, after all. He immediately assessed her condition, noting the blood seeping from what appeared to be a deep wound on her side. He knelt, pulling her into his arms, preparing to carry her to his clinic. "You're going to be okay," he reassured her, although he wasn't sure of that. The woman's breathing was ragged, and her pulse was weak. He needed to stabilize her quickly. Once inside his apartment, Erik set her down on the medical bed, his mind focused on saving her life. As he worked, he couldn't help but notice the woman's features: sharp cheekbones, a strong jawline, and skin the color of deep emerald. She was no ordinary woman, he could tell that much. But there was something in her eyes, something that was a little too calculating, a little too deliberate. "I need to remove your armor to treat the wound," Erik said, his hands moving to unstrap her chest plate. She didn't protest, but her violet eyes never left him. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice soft, yet there was an edge to it. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Erik didn't think much of it as he focused on her injuries, applying pressure to stop the bleeding, and then cleaning the wound carefully. But as he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The woman's movements were a little too controlled, her body language too still. "How did you get injured?" Erik asked, his tone gentle as he applied the bandages to her side. "Ambush," she replied, her voice steady despite the situation. "I'm a mercenary, and I don't usually trust anyone. But you seem different." Erik paused for a moment, taking in her words. A mercenary? That explained her strong, confident demeanor. But something about her didn't add up. He couldn't put his finger on it, but the more he treated her, the more he felt something wasn't right. Once he finished treating the wound, he leaned back and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "You're going to be fine now. You just need rest and some time to recover." The woman's lips curled into a faint smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you," she said again, but this time there was something different in her tone, something more deliberate. "I appreciate your help, Lieutenant Hayes." The sudden use of his full name caught him off guard. He glanced up, meeting her gaze. "How do you know my name?" he asked, his voice tense. She chuckled softly, the sound almost melodic. "I know a lot about you, Erik. You were a medic on the front lines before you ran away to this quiet little corner of the galaxy. I know all about your record, your skills, and your reputation." Erik froze, his blood running cold. There was no way she could have known all of that unless... "You've been following me?" he asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. The woman sat up slightly on the bed, her eyes gleaming mischievously. I don't need to follow you, Erik. I can see the kind of man you are. Her voice lowered, becoming huskier. You're kind, loyal, and you have a need to help people. It's endearing. Before he could respond, she leaned in closer, her lips almost brushing his ear. The sudden proximity made Erik tense. He felt a shiver run down his spine as she whispered, "But I'm not here for your help. I'm here for something else." Erik pulled back slightly, his mind reeling. He had been tricked. She wasn't really injured. She had been playing him the entire time. He stood up, ready to confront her. But before he could speak, she grabbed his wrist, her grip surprisingly strong for someone who had just been injured. "You're not going anywhere," she purred, her voice thick with desire. "I've been waiting for someone like you, someone who thinks he can save everyone. But the truth is, I don't need saving. I need something far more satisfying." She pulled him toward her, the tension in the air becoming thick and charged. Erik's heart pounded in his chest as he realized what was happening. This woman, this mercenary, had been using him all along, playing on his instincts and kindness to get what she wanted. And now, she was aggressively seducing him, making him question his own boundaries. "Stop," Erik said firmly, trying to pull away. "This isn't why I helped you." But the mercenary's smile only deepened. "You can resist if you want, but deep down, you know you want this, Erik. You're just too afraid to admit it." Erik's head swirled with confusion, but something inside him snapped. He wasn't going to let her manipulate him. He wasn't going to be just another pawn in her game. "Get out," he said sharply, his voice trembling with both anger and resolve. "I'm done with this." For a moment, she looked at him with something close to amusement, as if testing him. But then, to his surprise, she simply let go of him, standing up from the bed with grace. "Fine," she said, her tone almost bored now. "You've proved you're not like the others. But don't forget, Erik, I'm not the one who needs saving. You are." With that, she turned and walked out of the room, leaving Erik in a whirlwind of confusion and disbelief. Days later, Erik still couldn't shake the encounter with the mercenary. He tried to move on, to return to his normal life, but a part of him still wondered why she had done it. Was it a test? A game? Or had she truly been trying to make him acknowledge something within himself? Regardless, the lesson was clear. He couldn't let his instincts control him. He had to be more careful about who he trusted in the future. And when he found someone who truly needed his help, he would be the one to decide how far he was willing to go. As for the mercenary, Erik never saw her again. But her presence had left an indelible mark on his heart. A reminder that in the world of war and survival, not everything was as it seemed, and not everyone was truly what they appeared to be. "You said